It's the boy, Bubba, let's coming through. Hella clutch, flawless, can't be touched. It's your boy, Bubba, let's. Yeah, I need that hot take. I need the truth and everything that is not fake. So tell me who's the GOAT, I'll tell you who's not great. And which team always make you go right way. Yeah, hold on.
And welcome to another episode of the Bubble Sports Podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Bubblettes, and this is episode 126, I think, of the Bubble Sports Podcast. And this is somewhat of a Cowboys roundup / just Cowboys news. We'll call it a roundup. Fuck it, you know? Cowboys roundup of the week. We just did one like a couple days ago, but hey, you know, it feels like a week, am I right? Oh, God, this sucks. All right, but Cowboys roundup of the week, where we talk everything Cowboys, speculation, rumors, and all the news coming out of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcast, make sure to follow the podcast. Thank you for listening. And if you're watching this on YouTube, and if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe. We're at 63 subscribers, I think, which is growing each and every day, and I'm loving it. I appreciate all the support and all the following of the podcast. So let's continue to grow this channel, and I appreciate you watching. If you're watching this right now. Now, if you see on YouTube, I got the candle that I lit up the last episode. It's not lit, but you know what's going to be lit this episode. Thought about that like 2 minutes before I started recording. All right, let's get into it. All right, I said I would talk about this from the last podcast and make it a key point in this episode. Dez Bryant. There's been so much talk, and it's kind of inevitable at this point. I mentioned that in the last podcast. It's inevitable for Dez Bryant to come back to Dallas, to make that return ever since 2017. And the last time that we saw Dez Bryant in the NFL was him tearing his Achilles with the New Orleans Saints in practice. So he never got to play with that stacked offense that was ready for destiny of winning a Super Bowl. That team in 2017 or 2018 with the New Orleans Saints, that team was amazing to watch. And if they had Dez Bryant, who would have thought what he could have done there as a second or third option, really, to Michael Thomas, and to a stacked offense like Alvin Kamara, Drew Brees. They had Mark Ingram still at that time. It could have been amazing to watch. It just didn't play out that way. He last played with the Cowboys in 2017, and really, it's kind of grown on me, the idea of the return to Dallas with Dez Bryant. The Cowboys are in a much better place right now than they were 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. When they released him in 2017, I thought that was the best move for the Dallas Cowboys. I didn't want Dez to just fall off from the face of the earth and just not be heard of anymore. I was excited for him to get a new start with another team, and whether that was New Orleans, whether that was New England, it didn't matter. I thought it was a good idea for him to walk away from Dallas and Dallas to walk away from Dez Bryant, because that relationship was toxic at the very end. The reason I say toxic is that man, let's talk about the whole character of Dez Bryant. The kind of the role that he played in Dallas. Coming out of Oklahoma State, I mean, arguably the best receiver out of the draft. But there was a lot of character issues. There was immaturity. There was his behavior off the field. And of course, the Dallas or the Dallas Cowboys would like to take that chance. They think that the talent overwhelmed the off the field issues. And if they can control Dez Bryant, in the sense just like lead him in the right direction, this could be big benefits for the Dallas Cowboys. And in those first 5 years, it was an amazing return on investment. That man took over Dallas. Him and Tony Romo built a relationship that was unlike any other in the NFL. And for a long time, I thought they were the best dynamic duo, wide receiver / quarterback duo in the NFL. They were just unstoppable. They had that relationship. They had that chemistry. And it was unbeatable. It really wasn't. When Dez Bryant was healthy, when Tony Romo was healthy, they are dangerous. And when they were on the field together, magic happened. So the off the field issues that he had in Oklahoma weren't what actually caused Dez Bryant to have all this, back and forth arguing with the Dallas Cowboys later on in his career. 2014 was their best season. That team was stacked across the brim. I mean, Dez Bryant, Tony Romo, DeMarco Murray, a beautiful offensive line that was the best in the NFL because they were all young, they were all healthy, and they had something to prove. They built that offensive line tremendously. Their defense, though, dear God, what the fuck was that? So that's ultimately what caused the Cowboys to not have the Super Bowl success or even the playoff success that they should have had with that team because they focused on offense, didn't have anything on defense. And guess what? Like 5 years later, that was still the issue. 2014 was the catch. Now, Dez Bryant caught it. Arguably changed the NFL forever with that one play. And that's really where it all went downhill. That Dez Bryant catch, non-catch, is really what ultimately led to the downfall of the Dallas Cowboys and Dez Bryant. After that, it was the 2015 season. Tony Romo got hurt for the entire year. They went like 2-14. Horrible. And Dez, who had some issues with injuries as well, was unhappy and he got injured as well. 2016 came around. A whole new breed came in. Tony Romo's out, Dak's in, Zeke's in. Still, Dez was still their number one receiver. Cole Beasley was stat-wise their number one receiver. They still had Terrence Williams. They had Jason Witten. A team that could have done something, but I was happy for the future. But the one thing that I thought was not solidified for the future was Dez Bryant. At that point, the relationship that he had built with Dak wasn't all there. And it's going to take some time, obviously. But it never progressed in the right way. And that's where I feel that the character of Dez Bryant really overwhelmed the talent. It was, think of Dez Bryant as a Draymond Green-esque type of personality in the locker room. Is that when he's talking smack, if he can back that up with the play, like, it's great. It's a great thing for the locker room. It's a great thing for the sideline. Because for the longest time, it's like Dez talked so much shit and was aggressive. Like he said, give me the ball. I will take over this game. He would talk all of that and would back that up. And then injuries, to his foot, to his legs, it all started to spiral out of control. Because with those injuries, his play started to deteriorate. His talk and his aggressiveness with his mouth never deteriorated, though. When it came down to 2016, 2017, the man was all talk. The man wanted the ball, and I appreciate the aggressiveness. I appreciate the Draymond-esque type of personality in that locker room. I love that. I really do. But you got to back that up. And in those last few years with his injuries and his play, he did not back that up. I was done with Dez after 2016. And he had built such a great relationship with Jerry Jones, with Jason Garrett. They're not going to let him go. They're not just going to say, hey, we got to move on. We still believe in this guy. Same thing that they did with Jason Witten. Same thing that they did with... It kind of worked out in the end for Sean Lee. But they held on to him, even though he could not stay healthy, even though he could not, be on the field. They held on to these guys because it's their glory days. And that's what sucks, is that they wasted a couple years, and they really were late to the party of getting a new receiver because they loved Dez so much. And it sucks because he was there for a couple more years than he should have. And all he was talk. That last year, 2017, the amount of deflections that led to interceptions and the amount of drop passes that Dez had was unbearable. That was some horrible play out of him. And it took him all season long to realize, hey, this is just not going to work out. He was not worth that contract that we paid him earlier in the decade. And I was happy for Dez to move on and to find another place. And I was happy for the Cowboys finally realizing, hey, we need a number one receiver. And in those first months without Des Bryant in 2018, it was rough. I mean, that was some of the worst Cowboys play that I've ever seen. And being at that Tennessee Titans game the week after they had gotten Amari Cooper and traded a first-round pick for him, they still lost in a horrible, embarrassing loss to the Tennessee Titans on Monday night. And seeing how AT&T Stadium was reacting, it was rock bottom for the Dallas Cowboys. It really was. And then the talk came of Des Bryant possibly coming back and saying, hey, if we can get you on a low contract, you can come back and be our number one guy. And I was not for that. I've been a advocate of Des Bryant not coming back to Dallas for forever. I mean, ever since he left and all the talk started of him coming back, I was not for it. Just because the talk didn't match what a number one, or the talk didn't match the talent, and that talent did not reciprocate a number one receiver. And Amari Cooper followed through. He's their number one guy. Michael Gallup, drafting him was probably one of the best decisions the Cowboys have made on offense in probably 5 years. They got Randall Cobb in free agency last year, which was a great move. Didn't really work out in their favor. Blake Jarwin, drafting him, amazing move by them. And not having to pay Cole Beasley, getting rid of Ryan Switzer. These receivers keep coming through Dallas, and you say, do they have a core? Is there a core here, or is it just one guy leading the way? And that's what the core was in 2014, 2013. It was prime Des Bryant. It was prime Cole Beasley. It was still a very efficient Jason Witten. And then offensive line could do anything with that offense because they had DeMarco Murray. They had Alfred Morris. They can work with different guys and give Tony Romo plenty of time to throw. They needed to protect him because of all the injuries that Tony Romo had. Their core was Des Bryant, Cole Beasley, Terrence Williams, Jason Witten. They had weapons. They had options for Tony Romo. And since Des left, really up until last season, they didn't have a core. Now, you have Amari Cooper. You have Michael Gallup. You have Cedric Wilson, who I think can do great things for the Dallas Cowboys this season. I've been wanting to see him get more play, and I'm excited to see what Cedric Wilson can do coming off of injury and low playing time. Blake Jarwin. You know I love that man. Dalton Schultz, yes. Blake Bell would be a good addition to the offense. Losing Travis Frederick and those guys on the offensive line getting a little bit older is still a worry, but I think they can make it work. They don't have to be the best offensive line in the NFL. I say they're still the top half of the NFL, in my opinion. The core in the wide receiver core is there. It's there. It's potential. And this is where I start to see where Des Bryant can fit into this. Is he doesn't have to be the number one guy anymore. For the longest time, it was if he's playing on the Cowboys, he's the number one receiver. He wants to be the number one receiver. And his money paid him to be a number one receiver. Now with the reality check of getting cut by Dallas, being released by Dallas, tearing his Achilles, and not having played since 2018 really, or since 2017 because he never played a game with the New Orleans Saints and has been basically on Twitter this entire time. But seeing the workouts that he's doing with Patrick Mahomes, seeing the workouts he's doing with Dak Prescott as of late, I'm starting to see where it makes sense. Because he no longer has to be the number one threat, the number one weapon on the Cowboys offense. Really, what limited Dez to being more potentially one of the greatest receivers that we've seen in a long time was his variety of routes. He did not have a variety to work with. He knew how to run probably 2 or 3 routes, and for the longest time, he just knew how to do that better than anyone, and no one could cover that because his athletic ability, his vertical, his jump, it overwhelmed any corner in the league. And then when the injuries came and the distractions came through his mouth rather than his play, those 2 or 3 routes didn't matter. They can be double covered, and you just have to worry about Cole Beasley. That's what ultimately led to the failure of the Dallas Cowboys offense. And now with an Amari Cooper who has the variety of routes, I mean, is a beautiful route runner, one of the best in the league. Michael Gallup, who is prospering in every aspect of his game and is like a Dez Bryant, in my opinion. He is very physical, is faster than Dez Bryant, and can be a deep threat down the field. I love it. I love what I see on Michael Gallup. He's only going to get better. He also has a variety of routes to run. Then you have Blake Jarwin, who is a receiver, but he's built like a tight end, so you can do anything with him, really. And then Cedric Wilson, who at Boise State, you can show like 50-50 balls up in the air where he's just going vertically down the field. He'll win that ball, which is like Dez Bryant. So what if you put Dez Bryant in the slot? What if you put Dez Bryant on the outside and you run the Bubba Bunch formation? You know me. I like the Bubba Bunch formation. That's where the league's going. You put those three guys. You put Amari Cooper, you put Dez, you put Michael Gallup. Now on the other side, you have Blake Jarwin. You can fake them out with a play action. You can fake them out with a run. And it will be unpredictable. It's not a vanilla offense like it was with Jason Garrett. It's variety. It's uniqueness, which is what Mike McCarthy is going to bring to the table now that Kellen Moore has learned from his mistakes. And he has Mike McCarthy under his wing. Or Mike McCarthy under... Kellen Moore is under Mike McCarthy's wing. Jesus, that's where I was going with it. Now that they have that relationship, Dez Bryant makes a lot of sense. He'll be the third guy on the depth chart, really. And Amari Cooper gets double-teamed. Michael Gallup will get one-on-one. You love to see it. Dez Bryant will get one-on-one now that he's healthy, coming back from Achilles, which is a hard injury, but look, we've seen Richard Sherman do it. And guess what? He made the Super Bowl. Guess what? He's one of the top corners in the league right now. And he came back from an Achilles injury. That's amazing in itself. So hopefully Dez can do that with anyone. I hope Dez finds his way back in the league. And now Dallas just makes sense. Like, it's the only logical answer unless someone wants to give him top dollar contracts for a number one receiver. And I don't think Dez is that guy anymore. He's a great fit for the Dallas Cowboys because he'll be number 3. But at number 3, he's probably the most dangerous number 3 receiver in the league. By far. That's what he was going to be in New Orleans. They had the right idea. Just didn't work out for them. Because he had the injury. Think of the core that the Cowboys can have now. When they have Gallup, Cooper, Bryant, Wilson, Jarwin, Bell. And you have Zeke. You have Pollard. Like, this is a renaissance of what could possibly be a 2014 season for the Dallas Cowboys. A lot of potential, some experience, but the weapons are all there for Dak Prescott. And right now, you're probably not paying a lot of money for Dez Bryant because he'll take that hometown discount. He just wants to be back in the league. And he loves Jerry. Jerry loves him. Jerry thinks about him in the shower. Pause. Move on. And Mike McCarthy needs to replace Randall Cobb with another veteran receiver. Why not Dez, right? Why not Dez? I was very skeptical about that. If you would have asked me this a year ago, I would have said, hell no. There is no chance that Dez finds his way back to Dallas. Yet now, I'm open to it. But you're not going to pay him high dollar money. You can't do it. I don't think he deserves that. So, I mean, as long as the talent overtakes the talk, Dez Bryant is a good receiver in the NFL. And maybe he can bring back that energy, that bravado of a Draymond Green to the locker room. And he can do basically what Jason Witten was supposed to do last season, which was be a veteran guy, but still brings a lot to the table. And what Jason Witten was just a veteran guy. That's all he did. He did not bring a upgrade in the position at all. He was just a tight end that was a leader. And every time I see him on the field, I'm like, what's the point? What is the point? I didn't like what Jason Witten brought to the table last year. And I hope that Dez is not the same thing. I think there's more potential for Dez. He's definitely not done in the league, but we'll see. We'll see. It's got to happen, right? I think all Cowboys fans will agree. And a lot of people would like to see Dez back in Dallas. That was their favorite player, and for a good amount of time, he was my favorite player. And I started to wake up a little bit. I'm like, this dude is just talk. He's just there for show. But his play on the field was atrocious. I mean, he couldn't catch a ball. He couldn't catch a slant route. I was like, what are you doing? That's the one route you can run and you can't even catch that? Like, I was done with Dez. I was done with Dez for a long time. But now, I'm just open to it. I think I'll leave it at that. It's just I'm open to the idea of Dez coming back. It just got to be right. It has to be right. It can't be like, oh, wow, we need you back. We're not going to be desperate. If we don't agree to a good contract, don't overreact and say, but we need Dez back. We don't need a receiver. I don't think we need a receiver. I think getting a guy in the draft, I mean, you won't get the top end guys. You won't get CeeDee Lamb. You won't get any of those top round 1 guys. But there's plenty of talent at round 3, round 4, that if you wait and you're patient enough, see what's the best available, and then you can snatch up a wide receiver, and it'd give you right around the same production as Dez, in my opinion, because he's going to be a number 3 guy, as long as you have a weapon to work with. And there's plenty of weapons to work with in the draft. If you get Dez, it's got to be right. It has to be right. All right, 20 minutes in, another conversation I want to talk about. Jalen Hurts. Reports came out that he had a virtual meeting with the Dallas Cowboys. Am I a fan of this? No. But I completely understand why the Cowboys would go for that, would consider that. Jalen Hurts is not going to go in the top 3 rounds. In my opinion, I think him at Oklahoma is a trick that worked out heavily for Jalen Hurts. It was the right move for him to do and to rack up his stock in the draft. There was nothing going for him in Alabama. And really, for quarterbacks, other than Tua, when have you seen a quarterback out of Alabama who has taken over the league? We're not even sure that Tua would do that. Tua says that he's healthy, he's ready to go, but his draft stock is decreasing. It's declining because of the injuries. I don't know if anyone wants to take that risk because he's had the knee injury. He's had the hip surgery. That's tough, man. I don't know if I would take that chance. Especially at a high pick like number 3 and number 4. Especially Miami. Miami is considered to be the favorite to get Tua. I say Josh Rosen still has a lot to offer in the NFL. He's a pure thrower. He's never had his chance. He was put out for nothing in Arizona. The man was put in the desert and say survive. Metaphorically and literally. He had nothing to work with. You're going to give him Larry Fitzgerald? Dude, Larry Fitzgerald's going to get double teamed. What else do I have to offer? David Johnson washed up. And no offensive line, how am I going to get protection? I got to throw the ball in 1 second. And that's not going to get me anything. If you give Josh Rosen time to throw, and even Miami, when they started him, like against Dallas, the dude was told that he was going to start on Friday. The game was on Sunday. Are you kidding me? You're going to give him a first team snaps the day before? That is bad timing. And that is disrespectful for a talent like Josh Rosen. I think Miami can work with Josh Rosen. So I don't know if you want to go for Tua. Justin Herbert? Maybe. But, here's the thing in Alabama. You just never know with quarterbacks. especially with a talent to it, because that's a pro-style offense. And you have the best offensive line. You have the best receivers, like top 5 programs in receivers every single year. You have a dynamic back every single season with the Crimson Tide. Of course his quarterback is going to look good. How can you fail in Alabama? Well, the one person that failed was Justin Hurts, or Jalen Hurts, sorry. I was thinking Justin Herbert. Jalen Hurts got benched in the national championship game. He was the offensive player of the year in the SEC. How do you get benched in the national championship? You'd say Georgia's defense that year was amazing. Absolutely, I would agree. Georgia's defense is what was one of the reasons why they made that championship game. But Tua just came in and took over. Made that Georgia defense look like Pee Wee football. He made them look amateur. So Tua's obviously better talented quarterback. So Jalen made the right move to go to Oklahoma. Now at Oklahoma, you're in the same conversation. No quarterback is going to fail there. Think of the past few quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, now Jalen Hurts. And immediately in the first game, he breaks the record for most yards in a game. Good for you. But you had CeeDee Lamb. You had a Lincoln Riley coach who makes any quarterback look better. And it's the Big 12. You really think you're going to learn a lot from defenses by playing in the Big 12? Hell no. Of course you're going to look good. You played at Alabama. You played against some of the toughest defenses in the country. Then you got to play Baylor. Then you got to play Texas Tech. I don't even think they know what defenses are. So of course you're going to look good. He made the right move. He played with a team that is going to stack up his points. It's going to stack up his stats. And going to give him high praise in the draft. I'm not for it. And there's reports that come out and say when he made it to Oklahoma, his teammates didn't like him. They didn't like that he just focused on himself. Posted Instagram videos every single game of him working out right after the game. It wasn't about great team win, great team effort. It was about him and working hard for himself. It was the Jalen Hurts show. That's all it was. And even then, they didn't make it far. They didn't make the playoff. Because guess what? Oklahoma doesn't have a defense. And I don't think Jalen Hurts can carry the show. I'm not saying he's a horrible quarterback. I just think that college is going to misconstrue what Jalen Hurts can do. If he's in the perfect system, like anybody coming out of college, he's a quarterback that fits right to a certain system and a certain team, he's going to do well. I don't know if the Cowboys are it. What's the whole argument about Dak? What is the whole argument about Dak right now? Is that he's a good quarterback. And he's a system quarterback. But he's not elite. He's not a God-given athlete. What makes you think Jalen Hurts is? For the people that think that Dak is not their quarterback and they like the move that Jalen Hurts is being interviewed, I have no idea what's going through your mind. Because really, Jalen Hurts is somewhat like Dak Prescott. He's not the best. He's not the greatest quarterback. Can use his legs. He's a good thrower. Had his hardships in college. Probably will go 4th or 5th round. Maybe a little bit lower. So he'll be a backup to start it off. And whether that's with the Cowboys or somewhere else. And then if he gets a chance, I bet he'd be okay. But he's not going to be elite. That's what Dak is. What do you mean? Do you just not want to pay Dak? Because I will pay Dak to save ourselves from Cooper Rush or Jalen Hurts. I don't believe in Jalen Hurts, man. I'd say you get benched in the biggest game of your career. What does that show about you? Good job for working harder. I appreciate you transferring over and showing Alabama what they're missing. and working every day in the gym and posting it, being like, this is grind. I'll make it one day. Good for you, man. His interview when he left Alabama and joined Oklahoma, it was nice to see the emotion that he showed and the grit that resonated through him. It was nice to see out of a guy that needs to prove himself. And you got to feel bad for the guy. He got benched and never went back. I just don't think he's a great quarterback. If your whole idea for Jalen Hurts and your whole plan with Hurts is to be the backup to Dak Prescott, let him learn everything he can, and if Dak goes down, then there you go. You got yourself a good backup quarterback. It's probably an upgrade from Cooper Rush. So, yeah. But if the intent is to have that competition at quarterback, to make Dak feel like he's not solidified as the franchise quarterback, and to ultimately replace Dak because you don't want to pay him, then I think it's a terrible plan for the Dallas Cowboys. And I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think this is just them, interviewing guys. They want to get that story out there. How close were we to having Johnny Manziel be the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys? How close were we at that? So close. Super close. Jerry was this close from drafting Johnny Manziel. So it could be a lot worse. But Jalen Hurts is not our priority right now, especially when he's probably going to go in the 3rd or 4th round, 4th or 5th round. There's still needs that the Cowboys have to take care of midway through the draft. That's when you consider a wide receiver. That's when you consider another offensive lineman, or just get more depth at defense. I hate to see these mock drafts and they say they need a tight end. You don't need a tight end. Absolutely not. I will take that to my grave. If I watch the draft and they say their needs are wide receiver, edge rusher, corner, safety, tight end, I'll be like, I'm not watching this. I'm gonna put it on mute. I'm gonna just throw stuff on my TV. But we've talked about what's wrong with ESPN. That's one of them. I don't know, man. I don't know why they're interviewing him. You know, it'd be a good fit. If the Patriots really, really wanted something, Jalen Hurts. I believe in Jarrett Stidham. I believe in him. But Jalen Hurts looks good in a Patriots uniform. And you got from Nick Saban to Bill Belichick, 2 great coaches. And Lincoln Riley's in there too. So, but it'll make sense, right? You go from an Alabama program where you're given everything you need to succeed. Then you go to the Patriots where you're given everything to succeed with great coaching. Josh McDaniels will take over. You'll learn a lot from him. That could be a good fit for Jalen Hurts. Really, it could be. What another? Shit. If you wanted to. LA with the Chargers. LA with the Rams. Miami could get him. But then you're back to the conversation with Tua. I don't know, man. Jalen Hurts is just a weird one. I'm not a huge believer in Jalen Hurts. Do I want to see him succeed? Absolutely. That'd be a great story to tell. That could be a 30 for 30. Just him talking about how it felt to be benched in the national championship game. His job taken by the wonder boy of Tua Tagovailoa. Transfers, balls out, goes 6th or 7th round, and then has a better career than Tua and takes the world by storm. That'd be amazing to watch. I think so. We'll see. I just don't know why the Cowboys would interview him. I can't make sense of that to where this could work out in the Cowboys' favor. So, all right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Bubble Up Sports Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this. By the way, if you're watching YouTube, I just got this in today. I love this jersey. It's a great fit too, but it just looks like plain white, right? But if you look closer, then there's these little like designs. It's kind of like how you like chuck paint at a wall. Kind of looks like that. It's like grayish, dude. The first time I saw this, I was like, I wouldn't want that. That just looks plain. That's a plain white. And then I looked at it closer and I saw a lot more pics. I'm like, dude, that looks awesome. I wish they could sell like the ones with the numbers, but I couldn't find them at all. But I haven't had a white Mexico jersey, I think, ever. I have the black one. I have the green one. I have another green one. I've always wanted the white one that they wore for the World Cup, I believe. That one's awesome. But I always wanted that in like the Chucky Lozano or like a number on that. So I got to look into that. The only ones I could find were Chicharito. And we're not going for Chicharito. So yeah, this is the new jersey. I love it. Fits really nice. Prime pickup. And if you're listening to this, just imagine me in a Mexico jersey. Don't get too excited now. All right. So that's going to do it for episode 126 of the Bubble Let Sports podcast. I hope you enjoyed this. Make sure to follow. Make sure to subscribe. Ring that bell for alerts. Keep supporting the podcast. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. We're on our way to 75 subscribers. If we can get to 100 subscribers by the time this whole shindig goes down, dude, I mean, when we reach 100, I'm gonna do some shit. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do some shit. All right. Thank you for joining us. More videos on the way. We did like 4 episodes last week. Awesome. So more to come, and we'll see you next time on the Bubble Let Sports podcast.
Yeah, I need that hot take. I need the truth and everything that is not fake. So tell me who's the GOAT. I'll tell you who's not great. And which team always make you go right way. The Bubble Let Sports podcast. It's the greatest podcast in the universe, and I am the greatest on the verse. Yeah.